Hey everybody, Rich G here, and I got a real special treat for everybody. I got my good friend Jamie Anderson from Australia, uh, the land down under and all of that good stuff. We met each other years ago with Aerosmith, and we've been friends ever since, and he's just a great, great bloke, as they would say down there. Jamie, how you doing, buddy?
I'm great, Rich. How are you, mate?
Oh, can't complain, I guess, because who's going to listen? Well, you might. You're a
Oh,
therapist.
yeah, absolutely, mate. You've always got to look on that bright side of, what can I be grateful for today? It helps us.
Yeah, exactly. I'm grateful I woke up, right? And I'm grateful we're
That's
having
it.
this time together and the
Better
people,
than the alternative.
good coffee. Oh my God. Anyway, hey, so listen, the bottom line is that you've done so many exciting things. I'm going to just run them down. You by far are one of the most well versed and gone around the world son of a guns that I know. So right here, right off the bat with the sports similarity, you played and coached Australian rules football.
Yeah, it's not rugby, not rugby union, not rugby, not soccer. It's not anything like that. It's a different game, but I love it. It's one of the greatest games you can ever watch. The grand final that we have, which is like the Super Bowl, is in front of 100,000 people. It's huge here. It's a really big sport and
That,
very similar to ice hockey in field.
that's awesome. Yeah, I think we were talking about what were you saying? Something about the 360 aspect of it, right?
Yeah, it's totally like you just need that 360 awareness that you can get hit from anywhere. So, somebody can come from behind, from in front. So you've got to keep your wits about you and you've got to have that real awareness of what's going on. And I don't think there's too many sports exactly like that. Most sports, you get hit from the front, you know what's coming. But, our game, you've really got to be pretty strategic and you've got to be in the moment thinking about what's going on. You've got 18 guys on your side and 18 guys on their side on the ground at once. And,
Wow.
yeah, it's pretty fun.
It's like a gang fight with rules.
It's a bit like that. I think it's been described pretty similarly by probably a lot of Americans.
Wow. Right, see, that sounds
Uh,
cool. Now, the other thing here, like, we're just going to move along because you got so many. You
yeah,
love trivia. You play in a few international leagues, and right
yeah.
now you're at 326 in the standings. What's that about?
um,
Talk to me.
I do competitive quizzing, so it's something where I compete against like some of the guys that you see on game shows and things like that, and we all do a quiz once a month or once every 2 months, and yeah, we compete against each other. There's quiz rankings around the world.
That's awesome.
I'm not near the top, but I'm getting there. So you've got to remember a lot of information, but I've always had a good memory for that sort of stuff, and yeah.
God
Yeah.
bless you. So 326 out of like millions and millions of people.
Yeah, there's probably a lot that don't compete in it, but yeah, I'm
Well,
doing
well,
okay.
you're modest. You're
Yeah.
modest. Now, rode in a royal motorcade with Prince Charles and Princess Di. What's that about?
Yeah. So my dad was Princess Di's bodyguard, and
There
I
you
got
go.
a gig essentially to dad. Dad was riding up front with Princess Di and Prince Charles, and Mum and I got to ride along in the motorcade, and I sat there waving to everyone out the window, and everyone's going, "Oh, look, it's Prince William, Prince William."
That's
And yeah,
hilarious.
so everyone's probably waving back to me. So Mum and Dad got to meet Di and Charles at the reception for all their staff, and yeah, and got a signed autograph picture and said they're lovely. Yeah, I got to wait outside, unfortunately, so didn't get to meet them.
That's awesome, man. That's just wild. Okay, what about this? You've been to Chernobyl a couple of times. That's one of my favorites. I remember seeing the videos that you posted years ago on that. What's that about?
Yeah, most people think I'm a little bit nutty for going to places like Chernobyl, not once but twice. So first time I just loved it. It was one of the most fascinating places I've been. It's a ghost town. It was 55,000 people in Pripyat, and then after the big explosion in 1986, deserted. And so you can walk through this town that's really still stuck in 1986. You've got town, like the whole town's there. So like you can walk through schools, you can walk through community centres, police station. There's an interrogation room in the police station, very Soviet sort of feel to it. We went into the hospital and the whole works. There's still some areas that are off limits where they took off all their overalls. They threw them into the basement of the hospital. Still can't go there because it's too radioactive. yeah, I went through there and just it was fascinating to me. First time I went, there was this amazing moment where there was a a student's essay was lying on the ground in one of the schools, and I sort of went over to it and had a bit of a look at it, and an American guy that spoke Russian came up and sort of, he said to me, "You know what the title of it is?" And I said, "No, what's that?" He said, "It says the right to have no rights," and that
Oof.
just blew me away. It was just that really different thinking. On the walls, you'll see identification charts of American military aircraft. So if they're getting bombed, they know who they're
Oh
getting
my
bombed by, the whole
God.
works. And it's a big radar center that's about 100 yards tall and about 100 yards long, and this big over the horizon radar there. And it's got all the, if you read your Cyrillic alphabet in Russian, you can sound it out and go, that means Titan missile, or oh, Minuteman. Okay. And you see all
Wow.
these pictures of it and you realize, and gas masks everywhere. You realize how frightened they were of the West, just as we were probably taught to, think, geez, they're a big threat from, Rambo and Rocky and the
Yeah,
whole
sure.
works. So
Yeah, right. Red
yeah,
Dawn. Remember Red Dawn, the
yeah,
movie?
totally, yeah, absolutely. Was that Patrick Swayze? Was it? Or I
Yeah,
can't remember,
that
but
was a good movie.
yeah,
That was a good that was a crazy movie. Oh my God.
yeah,
So yeah. And then what about now? You motorcycled up and down North Vietnam 4 times?
yeah.
Like once wasn't enough, huh?
No, it was a bit that way. Like when I really like a place, same with Chernobyl, I went back and saw it again. I was like, I've got to do this once more, and took my mates back with me, and did a bit the same with Vietnam. I ended up loving it the first time I went, and went, wow, this is amazing, and the countryside there is just so beautiful. And ended up with a mate. We went over there, and we didn't really plan. We sort of knew that we both had a bit of leave, and we went over there, but we didn't realize we were arriving in monsoon and typhoon season. So we arrived in the middle of a monsoon, bought our motorbikes in Hanoi and drove out to one of the islands. And didn't realize we sort of got there at nightfall, got across on the last ferry of the day, which wasn't actually scheduled. It was just taking the workers home. And we somehow talked our way onto that and got there with about a minute to spare, and got over there, then discovered our bikes don't have headlights. So we had these
Oh my God.
motorbikes our headlights didn't work, or mine didn't work, and then eventually we bribed our way over onto this island, like, because you're not supposed to travel after dark. So we're bribing this little fisherman, because the little woman's going, "No boat, no boat," and we were saying, "Yes, but maybe boat," and
Oh my
end up
God.
paying them off to get us over to this island, which got caught in a storm, all sorts of stuff. But on the way back, my mates, when we were driving through the jungle back down towards Phong Na, my mate's his motorbike, the light stopped working on as well, the headlight. So we're in the middle of a monsoon rain. We're about 3 hours out of anywhere in the middle of the jungle, and we here we are. The sun's just gone down. It's almost pitch black. There's no light at all. It's a moonless night, and we're going, all right, we've got no headlights. We're 3 hours out of anywhere. We're in the middle of the jungle. It's raining. What do we do here?
Oh,
So me
oh
and him
my
just looked at
God.
each other, and we just went, we're just gonna have to ride on. And so we started off and went, okay, we're just gonna have to go along slow until we had a little truck go past us, and he's gone zooming past us about 80 k's an hour, and we've just both looked at each other and said, let's do it. So we've just
Followed him.
top speed, started tailgating him, using his lights, and traveled behind him for about 2 hours or so, with just road spray all over us. And anything, if there would have been a branch on the road, a pothole, we were probably gone. But somehow we managed to
God bless.
we just right on. And and eventually the truck turns off, and about 30 seconds afterwards, we're looking at each other going, geez, we're stuffed again, aren't we? And he's been flicking, my mate Shen has been flicking his lights the whole time, and nothing's been happening for 2 hours. About 30 seconds after this truck leaves, it's just like heaven just shines down a light, and his motorbike light comes on, and somehow we got out of the jungle. So it was just, it was pretty amazing. It's some of my favorite memories.
Oh my God. All right. Moving right along. All the United States nicknames and capitals, right? The
This is the
capital.
part where I disprove that, isn't it? Where I stuff up,
Well,
probably.
what about
Yes.
give me Montana.
Montana. Okay. It's Helena is the capital, and it's the treasure state, I believe. I always think of it. Helena is a treasure for Tony Montana. That's why I remember it.
Oh, I can't believe I can't believe I thought I had you on that one, man. Oh, okay. Moving right along. Oh my God. Helena, you knew that like that. That wasn't even, we weren't even, okay. I'm not gonna ask you another one.
You
Forget
try
it.
me on another one later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe later. I don't know. All right, but that brings us now to somehow through all of this,
Mm.
you have become a psychologist,
Yeah,
correct?
That's my day job. Yeah.
Because I guess the amount of therapy you did after going to Chernobyl and riding in the rain in North Vietnam on a motorcycle with no headlight, right? They
Yeah.
said they said, you know what, pal, you should become a psychologist.
I think it prepares you for anything, doesn't it? It's
Oh my God.
yeah, the high stress situations. I seem to respond differently. If I'm in control of it and I know what I'm doing, or I just go, this is fun. Yeah, it's great.
It's the
Psychology though, yeah, it's a different thing. Like you have to think on your feet pretty rapidly each day. If you're doing your 6 sessions a day and you've got people coming in, they're going to throw all sorts of things at you. So you've got to be able to really think as you go.
yeah. So obviously you decided at some point later on in life to go back to college and take classes. Is that how that
It
works?
was actually no. I actually did it from the start. So I went
Oh,
straight from
okay.
school. I went into college, and I probably took a little bit longer than most people to get through it. I was probably enjoying it a bit much at
Yeah,
times,
right.
and I went to an all boys high school initially, which is
Mm.
quite common here. But then obviously going to university, like, geez, girls, they're all right, and
That,
you know,
let me tell that we share the same thing because I went to an all boys school too. And when you go to college, your first year, your freshman year, you hardly
yeah,
study. I
that's
did
it.
anyway
You're just like,
because you're
wow,
just like,
this is
what is
amazing.
this about? Yeah, they're
Totally,
like
yeah. So
sitting in front of me, to the right and left of me. What's going on? Right?
that was it. And I was trying to play like, almost top level football, like the second highest level of footy here. And I was working really hard, really focused on that. Probably enjoying a bit of partying, going out, that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. So I think I probably took a little bit longer to get through university than probably should have. But started to get serious towards the end and went, I've got knuckled down here. Unfortunately, yeah, came out the other end a psychologist, which is
That's awesome.
um, it's been a good career. Yeah.
It's pretty timely right now, my friend.
Yeah, it's I think at the moment, like, there's a lot of people dealing with stress, and we forget that it's not just the stress of what's going on at the moment; it's what they're carrying beforehand, what they came
Hmm.
in with, and I think we're seeing a lot of people that have been going through difficult times beforehand. They've got some anxiety, they've got some relationship issues. There's something going on, and this really just exacerbates it. We're just it's
Yep.
like putting an amplifier on it, really.
Yeah, without a doubt. So now, if you can, since you're down in Australia, you guys you
Yeah,
had the virus first, right? You had
we
it
were one of
came
the
to you
early ones.
first, and
Yeah,
you had a ball, you had a run on toilet paper. You made it a trend of that worldwide. But
yeah,
but if you don't mind, because we in the United States now we're in the process of starting to relax restrictions
yeah.
or letting people go back to in Florida. They're going to bars and they seem to be going everywhere in Florida, beaches,
Yeah,
bars, and whatnot. Now you've done. How long have you been out of those the stay-at-home restrictions?
I think it was about February. I think, oh, sorry, no, March. We would have gone into isolation. It was around about Australia Day, which is about January 25th, that we went into. Okay, we're starting to get the cases coming through. In early
Hmm.
Feb, it started to build, and it was a bit of a gradual build at first, and then it started to get like, oh no, this is serious. We've got to do something. So the Australian government locked down flights into Australia. They pretty much closed up the borders, firstly to high risk areas and then to
Hmm.
everywhere, and locked us down pretty quick. But the horse had sort of bolted, and we shut the gate then, and yeah, it was a bit of a case of trying to catch up. So we went into isolation. We've probably been doing that since it would have been about when I started my new role, which is late March. We would have gone into isolation, and really, we've had a lot of restrictions. So we've got restrictions on more than two people at a time meeting. We've had a lot of uh, there's different things in different states, but probably collectively Australians have really been complying a lot with what has been asked of us to
Hmm.
say, don't go out in big groups, don't meet. And we've had a lot of luck because of that, that we just haven't had that spread of the coronavirus, like probably what we've seen in America. In a lot of parts of
Yeah.
America, it's really hit pretty hard. But for us, we've been pretty lucky, and And we're hopefully coming out of it. We're lifting restrictions gradually, so we'll see. I think it's next week. Next week we'll go back out of the stage that we're in at the moment, where there's no pubs open, there's no cafes aren't open for you to go and sit down in. You can go and get a takeaway, but that's what you can do. So we're going to see a little bit more of that. At the moment, throughout it all, we've been able to go out and exercise, which has been a bit of a godsend, I think, for most of us to really be able to get out and look after your mental health and do things that are helping us just cope through it all. But in general, Australians have been really compliant with what's been asked of us, which seems to be helping. Seems to be really flattening that curve, as we've heard.
Well, that's great. So but gyms, for example, are not open in Australia, right?
No, they're closed down, which obviously, and Australians are pretty big fans of personal training and gyms
Right.
and all this sort of stuff. And but they've all closed down. They'll probably lift and they may be reopened pretty soon. But that's all been shut down, which is it's obviously impacted a hell of a lot of lives, and we probably had a big economic impact from it. But the government's done pretty well again, like providing support. We've been in a good position economically coming into it. So I think they've provided a lot of support and really try to do what they can to look after everyone. Obviously, there's people that fall through the cracks, but
Yep.
yeah, we've done all right. And I think probably the other thing is the Aussie spirit that we love a laugh, Rich. So
I know you do. I love that. I might come down there.
Yeah, we've seen some really good things coming out. We did start the whole toilet paper rush, which was probably not a great thing, but we also started one of the big things that's come out of it is a bit of a theme of people dressing up to go out and put their bin out. So to take their garbage bin out, they all go out, they'll dress up as Batman, they'll dress up as all sorts of things. And on Facebook, there's a wonderful group about people taking out their garbage bins dressed as all sorts of things. It's just lifted the humor. I think a lot of us are bonded together to say, all right, we're in this situation. There's not much we can do about the situation, but what can we do to make it better? And
that's awesome.
After our fires, I think it's very much in the Australian ethos to say, okay, we're a land where there's floods, there's fires, there's natural disasters that happen, but when they do, we sort of recognise we've got to kick in, we've got to do something, we've got to make things better, and whatever we can do to work together to make it easier. I think we've got that really good community spirit, which has really helped us through. So.
Well, that's awesome. Now you talked about your new job. What exactly, just for the people listening, what exactly are you doing now?
Sure. My role, I work for a company that provides essentially employee assistance programs. So this is like corporate sponsored counselling for the employees. So essentially, they don't pay a cent for it. So the company actually pays for it. They can come in and talk about personal or life problems.
Awesome.
My role is really around critical incidents. So both I'm trauma and on-call manager. So I manage a team that are working right now at night. It's 11 o'clock at night here. I've got a team that work right across the weekend, all through the night, and do emergency response. So when people call through and there's a bit of a crisis happening or anything like that, they look after that. And then also the other side of things we do is that we go out after a critical incident. So when there's a disaster in a mine, or there's somebody within a particular team might have taken their own life, and everyone comes to work and they're just shocked. That's what we're doing, the on-site type of work. So that was my role earlier this week, was to go out and do that sort of work as well. So that's probably one of the few areas of our business that's still going out and doing face-to-face contact at the moment, but we've generally moved online. So all of our counselling is really done over Skype, and Skype for Business we use, and communicating with our clients that way, or through telephone calls. So
yeah. I mean, the ability to use technology nowadays is invaluable, I feel, especially for therapy or even doctors. I mean, you can see a doctor online in the States, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But would you? It's great.
It's a great thing, because the simple thing is that and people wonder, is it as good as if I see somebody face to face? I'd say, look, there's some things that we can do face to face which might be even better, but if you're comparing it to, if I don't get help at all, if I don't get any support, just reaching out to get some support, talking to somebody over the phone where it's anonymous, it's confidential, somebody that wants to talk to me, somebody that will listen, and that actually might be able to suggest some different ways of looking at things. The big thing that we always get is that people sort of they say at the end of the session, geez, I was really anxious about coming in. I'm really glad I did. And that's a really common thing is that, people start resolving things. They hit that point where, what, I can start going uphill again. I can start going where I want to go.
Yeah, I mean, I feel it's invaluable. The ability to talk to somebody about what's going on in your life is
Yeah,
you can't minimize it, and it's important for everybody. What about your
absolutely.
country with mortgages? The mortgage industry, and what's going on with? I mean, there must be people that their business, their livelihood has ended
Yeah.
for right now, and so they might be behind if they're living paycheck to paycheck. Maybe their mortgages are due. And what your country do as far as that goes?
From what I understand, that people that have been impacted, there's a few different things that the government's done. One has been the banks are giving mortgage holidays, so they're saying, look, no repayments for 6 months. You'll still have to pay, pay your payments at the end of it all,
Right.
but you get a bit of a holiday from that mortgage for 6 months. We're not going to be knocking on your door if you don't. Government has also said you can't evict people for 6 months at the moment. So even for renters that fall behind on their rent or anyone that falls behind their mortgage, you can't actually evict anyone at the moment. So that gives a little bit of security that we're not seeing people out on the street and out on their
Right.
backsides. Some of the other initiatives have probably been, we've had a JobKeeper scheme where the government's essentially paying employers to actually keep people on. Say if there's an intention to have them back afterwards, we'll pay you, and we'll pay you a rate it's about, I think it's $1,500 a fortnight, which
Mm.
it'd be maybe about $1,000 US, but
Yep.
it's enough just to get through, to not comfortably, but to do that, and
At least
that's
you're
just
not
helping
pulling your
people
hair
through.
out, though.
That's it. And we have a superannuation scheme here, which is compulsory for employees, which is like your 401ks.
Hmm.
And essentially 12.5% of our earnings go into superannuation. So the government said that anyone that's had a 20% dip in their income and they can show a 20% decrease in their income, they can actually access up to $10,000 out of their superannuation at this time. So and without paying any tax on it, which is again, I think they're pretty reasonable measures for the most part. They're going to cost a fair bit, and there's going to be an economic impact on the other side. But we're probably well positioned in the first place to be able to offer these things and support people, which I think we're pretty lucky in that sense.
So everybody's working together in government in Australia. That sounds
Yeah,
invaluable.
yeah,
It sounds
it
very
seems a
very
real
unique.
contrast. Yeah,
Hmm.
the US politics is always intriguing for us to sort of see, oh geez, and ours can get like that at times as well. Like we can be pretty adversarial, but I've got to give credit to both our major political parties. They've worked together. They've just, there's been no infighting at the moment, less criticism about the measures. They've just got on with it and done it, which is it's kind of nice to see when everyone's feeling as though we're on the same path and we're getting there. I think there's been a lot of unity. There's still people that want to protest it and want to do all those sorts of things, and you get them everywhere. But we're
Yeah, that is
probably
everywhere.
no. I think there's that sense of we've been through difficult times before, and as early as January, February, when we had the bushfires here, which were really extensive, it just kicks in. It's just the message that you grow up with here is that in times of trouble, we've got to kick in. We've got to do it. And
Yeah.
Australia was built on the Anzac spirit, as we say, which Anzac, I'm not sure whether you'd be familiar with it, but our nation really came to the fore when we had a failed military campaign. It was in Gallipoli in Turkey in World War One, and essentially our soldiers. It was a failed mission, if you like, but they performed far better than anyone expected in a hopeless situation. And what we really developed out of that was a sense of spirit and mateship and courage and endurance, and really being able to sacrifice for each other, and that awareness of that's what we do for each other. And I think really that sort of pervades everything Australians do in a sense. It's a really important thing right in our hearts, and we keep very central to us about that idea of Australians and New Zealanders really bonding together to say, when there's tough times, we look after each other, and you just got to do your best in where you are, and and mateship is really a big thing of saying you don't do it alone, you do it with everyone else.
That's awesome. That's so
Yeah,
important, really. That's teamwork too. I mean, any kind of
yeah,
teams we've been on, that's championship teams. They do it together. Everybody pulls
that's
together.
it. If,
Everybody has a
if ever
role.
you've done, yeah, if ever you've been on the ice and you've done those sprints up and down the ice, and we do the same thing pre-season in terms of Aussie rules.
Yeah,
You're working to the point where you want to throw up, but it's a hell of a lot easier if you've got a mate alongside you, just encouraging you along, saying, "Come on, you can
yep,
do it. Come on, mate."
yeah.
That just helps you
Teamwork.
so much.
Teamwork's
Yeah,
important. You need teamwork. You can't be isolated. I mean, this is the wrong
that's
time for
it.
isolation. I feel for anybody that's by themselves in an apartment. I
Yeah.
implore them just to pick up the phone or email or whatever. I think that's why social media is so important. It's some of
Mm.
the stuff that people are posting on social media, like your people, like the Aussies going out and bringing the garbage dressed up.
Yeah.
That's great. But there's
Yeah.
stuff like that going on in the States too. Very, very funny. There's a couple of comedians that are hilarious that have really made
Yeah.
a name for themselves. There's an Italian guy who's just been hilarious, imitating his aunt and his uncle and all this stuff. Rodeo comedy. I'm not even giving it a shout out. My buddy Goomba
Yeah.
Johnny, another guy, funny guys. So I've had a lot of fun doing this and talking to friends like you that I haven't, had the occasion to do it as often as I'd like to. Aerosmith, what's your favorite Aerosmith song? Let's get back to like music. We
Oh, it's a tough one. I actually
wrap it up.
tonight I wore
Toxic
this just for
Twins.
you. My
Thank you.
Toxic Twins
I saw that
t-shirt for
before.
you. I thought I better watch that one. I probably like that really toxic period. Actually, my favorite song, I'd probably have to go off the Rock and a Hard Place album, Bolivian Ragamuffin. It's
Oh,
just
Bolivian Ragmuffin. Oh my God. All
it's
right. Well,
just got a huge riff. It's
yeah, it
Jimmy
does.
Crespo really rocking out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Jimmy Crespo.
yeah.
Good. Have
There's
you talked to Jimmy
pretty
Crespo
cool.
lately?
Not too much
Or
lately, to be
Cynthia?
honest.
Yeah,
Occasionally, I probably talk to Cynthia a little bit more.
yeah.
Cynthia's one of the most hilarious people I've ever
She's
met, and
great.
just is a larger than life personality. And I call her my Las Vegas mum. So
Yeah,
she's whenever I've been over there, she's like a mum. And I remember, first time I actually met them over there, she came running up, gave me the biggest hug, and it was lovely. And
yeah. They're
the
great.
whole family are just
Yeah,
wonderful.
they're good people. Well, maybe we can get to Vegas. Hopefully, Aerosmith will get back there again after this virus. I don't know what the heck's going to happen with the entertainment industry or the sporting industry as far as crowds go. I'm really not going to run
Yeah.
to sit in an audience of 20,000 people anytime
No,
soon, right?
it'll be the same thing here. We've got these huge stadiums that seat 100,000 people, but
Yeah, yeah, like a
we
Dallas.
actually played some games with nobody in the crowd, and it was eerie, really
Yeah,
really bizarre. So
I don't know
see,
what to make of it. Even coaching college hockey, we don't even know if there's going to be a season in the fall yet. We have no
yeah,
idea what's going on. I mean, May 1st is when kids have to apply to the schools, commit to the schools.
yeah,
A lot of them haven't. There's an article today on I saw 40% of the parents of incoming freshmen are hesitating sending the kid to college.
wow,
40%.
it's
So that's very, very, that's a lot of people that are hesitating. They might not send their kid. I don't know if I lived, let's say, in Montana. Okay,
yeah,
if I lived in Helena, I wouldn't send my kid to a New York university. I would take pause doing that.
yeah,
Imagine you don't know what's going on.
yeah.
I mean, that's pretty soon. That's going to be here before you know it. That's like 100 days, 120 days
Yeah.
away. So
It, it,
it's
it's
gonna be
it's
tough.
it's a different thing. I think in the States, you've just because everyone lives on campus there. We don't have as much of that. So
Mm,
most people probably don't live on campus, and people tend to go to university nearest them. Is
yeah,
probably rather than traveling for it. So I
makes
know
sense.
we're in a little bit of a different position, and being an island country that we are, if we don't let anyone in, anyone out, once we solve it, hopefully that fixes it for a while, but hard to say what's going to happen next in terms of once we open up the borders or anything like that.
Right.
So it'd
I
be
know.
interesting to compare along the way how we're going. But yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities and things we can learn from each other as we go.
Without a doubt. All right, buddy. So that's the story. What a great time. I always enjoy talking to you. And I'm having
Likewise,
coffee here, and I bet you might have a pint or
coffee.
something like that down there. But
I'm actually having a wine.
oh,
I
wine.
felt
Oh,
I felt like I earned it today.
yeah, yeah.
So
Well, your week is over, right? I mean,
that's it.
you're like it's Friday night there. I appreciate
Truth
it.
be told, I was out of beer, which is probably the one I would have reached for, but
There
haven't
you
done
go.
much shopping this week, been too busy.
Oh my God. So good, man. All right, listen. So I appreciate it so much, Jamie. Thanks a lot for coming on, and
Always
hopefully
great.
we'll get you back on again. And that's it. Any questions? The people will send us an email, and I'll forward them on to you.
Terrific. Great to talk
Thank,
to you, Rich.
thanks, brother.